In order to fully understand the range of editing techniques and transitions that exist, you're going to have to identify them within video. That's the best way. What I'd like you to do is then describe those techniques in your own words so that you understand them. The video will identify the editing techniques, then show you an example. The sheet in front of you has a list of different editing techniques. Watch the examples, then in the table, next to the technique, I want you to describe what the technique is and what it's doing to make sure that you are familiar with all the different editing techniques. On the flip side of the sheet, there is a column for genre and a column for narrative. I would like you to consider how editing would be constructed for different genres and narratives. Use examples to support your points.
The most basic edit you can do is the cut, which is simply going from one shot to another, changing perspective, advancing the story. Then there's the invisible cut. Invisible cuts are used to give the impression of a single take. However, cuts are hidden in blackness, like in Hitchcock's Rope or Evil Dead 2. And most recently, Birdman. Cuts are also hidden within whip pans, where you can hide the cut on the motion of the camera movement. Here are a few examples.
I'm back. Perfect time.
As you know, endorsed by the PTA and the North American Teachers Foundation.
We're coming to get you, Barbara!
An editor might also hide a cut with an object crossing the frame. Or you can hide a cut when the subject leaves the frame. This is my favorite example because it's pretty seamless unless you know what you're looking for. Just like any good magic trick. So there's an invisible cut hidden right here. This shot was cleverly designed to make it appear as if Paul Newman was actually doing those card tricks. But really, he can't. Now let's move on to something else. The L cut is an audio-based transition. This is when the audio from the current shot carries over to the next shot. Now keep in mind, this doesn't have to just be for scene transitions. This is used all the time, even when characters are just talking to each other.
Won't have to take this abuse much longer.
They don't serve fried chicken and watermelon on a daily basis in my mess hall. Yes, sir!
That you, John Wayne? Is this me?
The J cut is when the audio from the next scene starts before you get to it.
I can't, I gotta go home.
So you hear what's going on before you see what's going on. These are very subtle editing techniques that people might not even notice, and that's the point. The J cut and the L cut are designed to specifically create a seamless flow, a seamless transition from one scene to another, with audio guiding the way.
Hey, Gordy, I got something for you.
This, my friend, is for you.
That's all it is. They're like the police department for wise guys.
The J cut is also great for revealing a new element within a scene.
Plus, you can't take them underwater, and if you do, they... Neat.
We remember your little accident in the laboratory. Performance enhancers. Bingo. Me, your greatest creation.
Because this kind of cut smooths over the inherent discontinuity of shot changes. But it can also be done by matching sound, subject matter, frame composition, movement, or even colors and light. Really, anything can be matched across a cut. This is probably familiar to you, but let's set the scene. A woman is getting ready to take a shower. She gets in, and then an intruder appears. You likely know the rest. The blood flowing down the drain already signals the finality of the shower sequence in Psycho, but it's the next shot that really cements the hopelessness of what the viewer just witnessed. The shot of the drain slowly dissolves into a close-up of Marion's lifeless eye, as if to metaphorically suggest her life disappeared down that very drain. The transition we just watched is called a graphic match. This is a cut between two shots that share matching visual elements such as shape, color, size, or frame composition, like the circular shape of the drain and Marion's eye. Unlike classical Hollywood editing, which requires that cuts be invisible and never call attention to themselves, a graphic match is more effective when it is obvious. The stronger the visual connection, the more convincing the transition. It's useful because it's a graceful way of relating to otherwise disconnected or disjointed shots. The visual similarity across the cut establishes a palpable relationship between the two shots. This, in turn, helps ease the transition between them. The function of the graphic match can be categorized in three different ways: spatial, temporal, and metaphorical. The spatial graphic match uses the visual similarity between two shots to help the viewer ignore spatial discontinuity caused by a cut. One of the most famous examples of this appears in Lawrence of Arabia. When Peter O'Toole blows out the match, we cut to the sun rising over the horizon in the Arabian desert. In this case, the graphic match eases the transition between two very different geographical locations. The temporal graphic match is used to jump forward or backward in time. It works well for transitioning between the present day and a flashback because it makes the temporal jump feel more fluid and seamless. A good example of this is seen in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, where a graphic match is used to transport the viewer 4 million years with just a single edit. But this cut also has metaphorical and ideological implications, because it suggests that spacecraft technology is the inevitable extension of primitive weaponry, and introduces the film's theme of humanity's reliance on and abuse of technology. The beauty of the graphic match is its ability to create a new idea by simply combining two shots. It's an extremely powerful transitional device in modern editing because it shows two very different or unrelated things can connect to each other, or juxtapose against each other. For an editor, it's yet another technique for linking shots in a creative and potentially thought-provoking way.
Now all this means is cutting from one shot to another while the subject is still in motion. It doesn't always have to be on a punch or a kick. It could be something as simple as a character turning or throwing something, or a character going through a door, or another door, or another door.
Come through.
Jump cuts are when the editor cuts between the same shot, and they are often used to deliberately show the passing of time. And that looks like this. So you can naturally find these in montages. Here's a few examples.
Let go of me! Don't!
Jump cuts are also used to add a level of urgency to the scene. And there's a lot of jump cuts in baseball. Then there's the cutaway, which I can best describe as cutting to an insert shot of something and then back. The insert could exist in the same space as the characters.
You want the moon?
Like this.
Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. Hey, that's a pretty good idea.
Or you can use a cutaway to get inside the head of a character.
Last night I was...
Cross-cutting. This is when the editor intercuts back and forth between locations. For example, most phone conversations are usually cross-cut, and when used effectively, cross-cutting can certainly amp up the tension and suspense of a sequence. This technique is also used to show what's going on inside the character's head.
Don't move. I don't want you to cut your own throat.
Now let's move on to transitions, starting off with fade in, fade out. We've seen this 1,000 times, and it's just dissolving either to or from black. Pretty self-explanatory. Now a dissolve is when you blend one shot into another, and that could look something like this. These are commonly used in montages as well, and also can represent a passing of time. Now, you could easily dissolve between the same shot, and it looks something like this. If you want to see more editing videos, click over here. If you want to see more video essays, click right there. And if you're interested in filmmaking, just subscribe. And we're also on Twitch every Thursday. We do live demos and commentaries. Okay, bye.